You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We have on the line with us this morning Cotty Lowry, who I think a lot of people know just from your billboards, Cotty, all through in the uptown area, the ones that always get vandalized. Cotty is a partner and owner of a Keller Williams Realty office in the Minneapolis Lakes area, and we're talking to him about the state of real estate in the Twin Cities. How's the market faring now? A couple years later and into this bubble popping, and we're going from a Minneapolis Star Tribune article that was written about a week or so ago. We'd love to hear from you today, too, folks. If you would like to get in on the conversation, the phone number is 651-289-4488. I'm broadcasting live from the Extreme Exteriors Mobile Broadcasting Unit, powered by Skype, and Tony is broadcasting live from the Concierge Landscape Studios in Eagan. Cotty, before we went to break here, you were telling us a little bit about the statistics with what's going on in real estate, and you said that unfortunately a lot of times newspapers start out with a lot of the bad news to kind of sell the papers, but it's not all. You would not say that it's all doom and gloom, would you?
No, not at all. I've been extremely busy this year. At least my year started out slowly, but the last month or so I've been extremely busy. I even had sold a home down near the U of M last week with multiple offers. So two people were trying to buy the same house, which is, not very often anymore.
The seller's got to be happy about that one.
Yeah, they were ecstatic.
Yeah.
And so, the market, I think, is very strong. But you asked before, do I think, where are we going price-wise, I guess? And, I got to believe we're still trending down. I just recently sold a home near the creek, which 18 months ago sold for about 10% more. These people had to resell it, and so it sold for about 10% less 18 months later, and that's a pretty good indication of what's happened in the last 12 to 18 months. Nothing else changed.
How long do you see this trend continuing to happen with real estate going down? I know it's anybody's guess at this point.
There are about, how many are there? I think there are about 4 million homes in the United States that are 90 days, either in foreclosure or 90 days delinquent. And that kind of spells trouble for quite a long time. So, but then the question is, how much of an effect do foreclosed homes or bank mitigated transactions really affect the traditional market? Where I live around the lakes, believe it or not, I was surprised at this. About 15% of the homes that are for sale do have some kind of an issue going on with a short sale or a foreclosure. I was really surprised when I looked that up. I thought it would be much less. And every one of those sales takes a buyer away from a traditional sale. So I don't know if I can give you a good answer. I think we're going to kind of bump along the bottom here for a while, for a couple of years. The tax credit, in a sense, created sort of a double dip, like the economy, like we've talked about or heard about in the economy, because we were sort of on a gentle decline in prices, and then a tax credit thing a year ago, sort of like pumping adrenaline into the system, and it pushed everything up for a while, and then it started back down.
Would you think that it's better for the government to probably, or just best for them to keep their hands out of trying to save the market and allowing it to correct itself?
I really do, Gene, and I gotta. Here's my disclaimer: I'm a Democrat, but I really don't think what the administration did helped long term. It was really fun at the time, but long term, it's like the Titanic. A little wave kind of hit us in the bow, and it slowed us a little bit, but it didn't have much effect. I just don't think let's face it, the economy is just too big. What happened is just too big, and I don't think you can make a program big enough to really, truly turn it around. The market just has to fix itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the painful part.
Yeah.
Most of us want a quick fix.
Yeah, they were trying to ease the pain. I get that. And, it's a great attempt, but I just don't think you can do it.
Yeah. Connie, I have a question for you on behalf of our landlord and rental property owner listeners. How are multi-unit family homes selling these days?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I'm hopefully working on some stuff like that right now with a client. In the uptown area, well, as you know, in the metro area, the vacancy rate's down around 3%.
Yahoo!
Yeah, I mean, I own some small apartment buildings, and finally, after many years, we've been able to raise the rents and try to recover some of the costs that we've been just eating.
Yeah.
And the market for apartment buildings and apartments. Now we're not talking about condos; we're talking about apartments, right?
Right.
Apartments, yeah. Is very, very strong.
Good.
Recently, there's been a portfolio that sort of changed hands in the uptown area, and those units sold in the these are one-bedroom units, sold in the $90,000 per unit price range.
Wow, that was going to be my next question.
That's up quite a bit. I think a few years ago, wasn't it getting down to $60,000 to $70,000 a unit?
Yeah, I think that's right, Gene. Of course, these were gold-plated buildings near the Minneapolis City Lakes. You couldn't get a better location. They were all really beautiful buildings. So, and there are some more out there right now where they're asking up to $150,000 a unit, which is pretty high. I don't believe they'll get it because the numbers, these are all to be cash out deals with new financing.
Yeah.
The numbers just don't support that kind of a price.
Yeah.
But, they may be worth $110,000 to $115,000 a unit. These are two-bedroom units, renting for around $1,200 to $1,300 per unit.
Mm-hmm.
So
right now, you're saying that the market is stabilizing, and it is certainly a good time for someone still to try and sell their home if they need to, or if they need to buy. Before we let you go, Cotty, could you give us a little information or some tips to our listeners? What's the best thing that they can do to prepare themselves before selling or purchasing a home?
There's no question that the time that they put in their elbow grease and say a few $1,000 into their home will pay back on an hourly. Let's say you put in 50 hours, you'll probably be making $100 an hour in preparation time for getting your home ready, decluttering it, staging it, painting, hiring the right consultants, getting an agent, a realtor that has those contacts. So it has to be perfect. You want to erase every objection you can possibly find. I mean, to the point of washing the basement windows. Make sure you get enough. I mean, who does that? You do everything.
Interesting.
It's just really got to be perfectly done.
Wow.
I just want to give you one other very interesting tip that I learned. Not too long ago, I called this is for people that aren't maybe selling but just want to reduce their interest rate. If you have an adjustable rate loan, I just decided to call my lender one day. It's a small bank somewhere that ended up with my loan. And I was talking to him about something, and I said, hey, off the cuff, would you guys ever think about reducing my rate? And they said, oh, sure. Really? And they said, yeah. And so actually I did it twice. To make a long story short, we have a 5.1 ARM on our house. I got it reduced from 4 3/4 to 2.9.
Wow.
That's a 37% decrease in
wow. But you have to ask.
So you're talking about a strategy of just asking, huh? Just coming right out and just asking.
Yeah, I just called them up and asked them. I said,
wow.
And then, once we sort of did the deal, I said, hey, why would you guys do this? And they said, well, we want to keep you as a customer. And I thought, well, good enough.
How refreshing.
Yeah, it was great. It was a small bank in Cincinnati called Dollar Bank. Okay. Whoever heard of them?
Yeah.
But, and they also redid my 5.1 period so that my loan started over.
Cool.
So,
very cool.
So call your lender and just ask.
Good tip.
Well, Cotty, thanks so much for taking some time on a Sunday morning here to be with us. We'd love to be able to call upon you from time to time. You've got some great information for us and our listeners. Thanks for being on the show this morning.
It's great fun. It's nice meeting you, Tony, and good talking to you, Gene.
You too. Thank you.
Talk to you later. Tony, what a great idea. Just ask for a lower interest rate.
That's good advice, generally speaking. People usually cannot read your mind, so if you need something, you should ask.
Hey, but you know what? I bet you he didn't go in there demanding screaming either. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about issues that people have with homeowner associations, the first approach from people sometimes is to be on the defensive instead of just being positive. Here he came in and said, hey, would you guys lower the interest rate? And they did it.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, we'd love to hear from our listeners, too. Try Cotty's strategy in the next couple of weeks and give us a call back to let us know which of you were able to get your interest rate lowered.
And check out the Friends of Cotty's Billboard website. I'm going to. It sounds interesting. Yes. Friends of Cotty's Billboard.
And so we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we are going to be talking about, as I mentioned, this new Florida law that was signed into effect just last week, that lets condo associations off the hook if they inadvertently release your personal information out to the public. We'll talk about that and so much more on Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot.